Imagine living in a small, quiet town where everyone knows your name. Now, imagine that cozy familiarity turning into a nightmare. This is the true story of Circleville, Ohio, a town held captive by an anonymous letter writer for nearly 2 decades. It all began in 1976. Circleville was the kind of place you see in old photographs, a peaceful, rural community where life moved at a slower pace. But that peace was shattered when residents started receiving strange handwritten letters. They arrived in mailboxes like ticking time bombs, filled with accusations and threats. The writer seemed to know everything the town's deepest, darkest secrets. Affairs, hidden crimes, personal grudges. It was all laid bare in crude block lettering. The messages were unsigned, creating an immediate wave of fear and paranoia. Who was writing them? And who would be next? One of the first and most prominent targets was a woman named Mary Gillespie, a well-respected school bus driver. The letters accused her of having an affair with the superintendent of schools. But these weren't just simple accusations. They were vicious and relentless. The writer threatened to expose her, to ruin her life, and warned her to end the affair. The tone grew darker with each letter, making it clear that someone was watching her every move. The letters weren't just sent to Mary. They were sent to her husband, Ron, her family, and her colleagues, turning a private matter into a public spectacle of shame and fear. Soon, the poison pen spread throughout the entire town. Letters began appearing everywhere, each one tailored to its victim. They were filled with personal details that only a local could know. This wasn't some distant prankster. The writer was one of them. They lived in Circleville, walked the same streets, and shopped at the same stores. The town's sense of community dissolved into suspicion. People stopped trusting their neighbors, their friends, even their own family members. The simple act of opening the mail became a moment of dread. Residents covered their windows at night, terrified of prying eyes. Sleep became a luxury as the threats escalated, hinting at violence to come if the writer's demands weren't met. The psychological toll was immense. The fear wasn't just in their minds. It had real-world consequences. One day, Mary Gillespie's husband Ron received a phone call. The voice on the other end was the letter writer. Ron, furious and desperate to protect his family, grabbed his gun and drove off to confront the person he believed was behind it all. Tragically, Ron never made it. He was found dead in his truck, which had crashed into a tree. The authorities ruled his death an accident, but a gun was found fired at the scene. Had he been trying to shoot at someone? Or was there another explanation? The town was left with more questions than answers, and the letters showed no signs of stopping. With a man dead and the community unraveling, the pressure on law enforcement was intense. Everyone was a suspect. Town meetings were held, but they only seemed to amplify the collective panic. People reported strange cars lingering on their streets, footsteps outside their windows in the dead of night, and envelopes left on their doorsteps. The writer seemed to enjoy the chaos they were creating, even taunting the sheriff with letters of their own. The investigation stalled. The handwriting was distinctive, but couldn't be matched to anyone. There were no fingerprints, no solid leads. The Circleville writer was a ghost, an invisible force tearing the town apart from the inside. Then, in 1977, came a breakthrough, or so it seemed. While investigating a booby trap set up along Mary Gillespie's Cess bus route, a sign designed to harm her, police focused their attention on her brother-in-law, Paul Freshour. A pistol belonging to Freshour was identified as the one used in the booby trap. Despite his claims of innocence and the fact that his handwriting didn't seem to match the letters, he was arrested, tried, and convicted of attempted murder. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief. The monster had been caught. The nightmare was finally over, but it wasn't. Shockingly, the letters continued, even with Paul Freshour locked away in prison. The postmarks were still from Columbus, just a short drive from Circleville. The handwriting was the same. The intimate knowledge of the town's secrets was still there. Had they convicted the wrong man? Was there an accomplice? Or was the true Circleville letter writer still out there, laughing at them all? Even Freshour himself received a letter in prison, taunting him. The mystery only deepened. Law enforcement was baffled. Private investigators hired by television shows like Unsolved Mysteries came to town, but they too left empty-handed. The writer was meticulous, leaving no clues behind. The psychological impact on Circleville was devastating and long-lasting. The letters didn't just cause fear, they destroyed lives. Marriages were broken, lifelong friendships were shattered, and reputations were ruined, all based on the words of an anonymous tormentor. The sense of safety and trust that once defined the community was gone, replaced by a lingering anxiety. Even decades later, after the letters finally stopped in the mid-1990s, the story is passed down. It's a local legend, a chilling reminder of the terror that gripped their town. The wounds never fully healed. Over the years, hundreds, if not thousands, of letters were sent. The case remains one of America's most bizarre and unsettling unsolved mysteries. Who had the time, the motive, and the sheer malice to carry out such a long and cruel campaign of psychological warfare? Theories abound. Some believe it was a group of people working together. Others think it was a single, brilliant, and patient sociopath who got away with it. The case files are filled with strange details, cryptic phrases, and dead ends. Despite decades of investigation, the identity of the original Circleville letter writer is still unknown. Naturally, in a story this strange, speculation has drifted into the realm of the bizarre. Some locals whispered that the writer wasn't entirely human, that some dark, almost supernatural force was at play, a presence that could see into everyone's soul and expose their secrets. It's an eerie thought, but it speaks to the sheer terror the writer inspired. How else could one person know so much? A more grounded theory suggests the writer was simply a master manipulator, someone who expertly used gossip and fear as weapons, turning the town against itself. Eventually, life in Circleville did return to a semblance of normalcy. New families moved in. Children grew up without the dread of checking the mailbox, and the town moved forward. But the shadow of the letters never completely disappeared. It lingers in the stories told by older residents, a cautionary tale about secrets, suspicion, and the darkness that can hide in plain sight, even in the most ordinary of places. The case of the Circleville letters is a haunting testament to the power of words to inflict terror, and a chilling reminder that some mysteries may never be solved. Because in Circleville, Ohio, some secrets are never safe, and some shadows are always watching. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as unsettling as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the unknown.